Hi, Shrinking fans. Welcome back to Tori Talks with Dr. S. I'm Tori. This is Dr. S. Today we'll talk about Season 2, Episode 7. It is called Get in the Sea. All right. Well, good episode, yes?
It was such a good episode.
I mean, every single episode,
We say this every single week. There's
So
no
good.
bad episode, and they just keep getting better.
Yeah.
I want to say they are getting better.
I'm always like, how are they going to handle that situation? And then they do it better than I could have imagined.
Oh, yeah.
Or like, I'm like,
Beyond-
I don't think, how can they get out of this? And then they always figure it out.
No, beyond expectations.
But, yeah.
Yes.
I'll begin with Jimmy's patient, Dan. And I wanted to ask you about this method of overcoming a fear. It's fear-inducing exposure. And so facing your fears, basically.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that method?
I thought it was similar to something I had heard of called flood theory, where they like flood you with the thing that you're afraid of to show you, I guess, that it's not real, the fear. But I don't know. I feel like what if it really triggers someone to go like to a bad place?
Seems like it should be controversial.
Yeah, I bet it is, right?
Yeah.
I bet so. But I mean, I guess if you're doing it in a safe way, there must be. Oh, I don't know. I have no idea if that's evidence-backed or not. I just heard of it.
I do wonder about that though, because it sounds like it's something that he just. I mean, who knows? I don't know how many sessions he had with this Dan guy, but it was just like throw him to the wolves.
Right. Well, and Jimmy, he Jimmy'd him. So I don't know if that's like a legit thing or if it was just another way in which Jimmy does his thing.
Yeah, I don't really know, but Jimmy's apparently on a hot streak this week. We don't get a lot of Sean this week, but Jimmy does advise him to go meet with that army friend after all.
Yes,
But that's really
yes.
all we kind of got.
But we did see them singing that song.
Oh, well, how can we? Yeah.
That was so good.
How can we not mention that? But yeah, all right. I want to turn to Liz because she's kind of complicated,
Yes.
the situation she's in. So she does meet up with Mac again. This first time in this episode, Paul walks by. Such a smug look on his face.
Yes.
But he's trying to explain he just wants to sleep with you.
Yeah.
And don't you think on some level she knows that?
How could she not know
Okay.
that? First of all, you get to a certain age as a woman, maybe 20, where you realize that all your guy friends want to sleep with you.
Oh.
Or they would
Yeah.
if you wanted to.
They will, yeah, if you were down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's either naive or something was like maybe subconsciously, like she's stuck.
I think it was on a subconscious level.
Yeah, like she's not trying to do anything to Derek, but she's just in a bad place. And you do dumb things when you're in a bad place.
And maybe
Like
it was
Alice.
a little exciting.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit like, oh, I know this guy desired me in the past. And
Yeah.
maybe it was a little taboo, and maybe it was a little sneaky, and maybe it brought some
Yeah.
excitement to her.
And what used to bring her excitement recently was the food truck. And she lost that. And
Exactly.
so now like she's not, getting like stimulation, and this Mac situation appeared.
It's like filling a void right
And
now.
sometimes
right?
just smoothing rocks doesn't do it for you.
Yeah. I know, I haven't heard about her rocks in a while.
Yeah.
Well, she does end up meeting him at his brewery, and he has a very nice gesture of putting
Yes.
her dog pictures on
Yeah.
the wall as decoration. But yeah, that's obvious. He is like trying to impress her, and then he kisses her. But more than anything, she kisses him back. So later on, when she meets up with Paul again, she's like, we kiss. He's like, yeah, duh.
Yeah.
I know. I like how he laughs.
Yeah.
That was actually his first reaction. But then he does say there's only two options. He's like, live in guilt for the rest of your life, or you tell Derek.
Yeah.
Before I had seen her actually talk to Derek, which she will eventually do, I was like, Derek is the coolest character. He's the chillest, the funniest, the most warm character, right?
Yeah.
So I was just like, wow, what a complicated situation for him to be in.
Yeah.
How will the Derek as we know him handle it,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
she does eventually fess up, and he makes such a good point. I support you in everything you do. I don't ask anything of you, and you knew as the one person I don't like,
Yeah.
and I don't like you being around. So
Yeah.
it doesn't look like it's going very well for them. Like, he was not.
so uncomfortable
Yeah.
for me to watch that, and just to see like the hurt.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
and when he was like, you make fun of me, like, and just all of that, I take it, but
He's like, I put up with so much, and then this is how you treat me. But
Yeah.
I always think there's two sides to every story. Something is going on with her, which we maybe mentioned about the food truck not
Yes.
feeling fulfilled, and this is maybe exciting.
Yeah.
fine, but then he has his side of it where he's just,
Yeah.
I'm sure that really hurts, you know?
Oh,
So,
I bet. I would be devastated if I found out that my spouse did that.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's like you get Liz's side too. She wasn't being malicious against Derek, and in addition to the food truck, her son hasn't reached out to say anything. And I don't know.
she's going through a tough time. Obviously, we don't, cheating's not okay, but
Yeah.
like it didn't come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It wasn't malicious, but it's,
she's not addressing, like, she's not, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Is she trying to call her son to be like, hey, I feel sad?
Yeah, right. Has she initiated contact?
Talked to Sean to say like, hey, I mean, I don't know.
I know. That's all a mess over there. But it's nice to see Derek, just to see that side of him. I don't want to see him suffering or in pain, but we just always see this chipper man, and he has layers, you know?
I like that too. I was totally thinking the same thing, because when she started to tell him, I was like, oh, is he going to be the same guy? But if he did, then I would kind of feel like no, you can't like just let her do that to you without any type of like expression of your feelings.
Yes.
I mean, I don't think they're going to break up.
I don't think so either.
But I think there's going to be like some serious talks, and I think Liz feels really, really bad.
I think she does too.
Yeah.
And maybe this did need to happen for her to realize or to appreciate him more.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know what a low thing to happen, but I think that they're solid. I mean, he said that he's like, I thought we were solid, but I think they really are in the end. But that's another one of those things where I'm like, oh my gosh, where do you go from here? I mean, that's not grounds for divorce, is it? I don't know. It's up to Derek, right?
Yeah.
All right, now let's talk about Brian and Charles, because they, surprise, are going to get a baby tomorrow. This is such a good storyline. I really like this because, okay, you are ready for this thing, right? It's going to come in what you think is 9 months, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, no, it'll be here tomorrow. But you're like, well, I didn't get to prepare. I didn't get to like have all the excitement, the build up, right? But what was even better about it is that Charles was feeling the exact same way. Leave it to Dan, because Dan's kind of the tag along patient for the day with Jimmy.
Yes.
But yeah, I just thought that was like a very interesting, have you ever been in that situation before that you can recall where you're like, oh, I want this thing, it's going to happen later, but then it's like, oh, it's happening now.
I think so. I feel like I have. I can't think of any examples. But then it makes you, like kind of question like how much you want it and what's the importance of it like happening so soon, right? But that preparation part's really important.
But if you want the whole experience, I mean, it's like turning down a baby, right? Like you literally could do it tomorrow. You could just, but you don't get to go through.
Yeah.
You don't get to go through it your way either. Like, and then Charles was like, I want the 9 months too.
Yeah.
Anyway, I really liked this part. But along the way, when Brian was like trying to figure out what to do, okay, because Gabby, she and D2, Derek too.
I like that.
I know.
He's the best.
Yeah. So she was feeling intimidated at first about dating him because he's a smoke show.
Yes.
And but he's so down to earth.
Yes. And dorky. I love how he's just like dorky.
It's like it doesn't seem really.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd be intimidated like that, but because he's really sweet and
I know, and she's so like hot too, and she's like, super smart and like successful. So
oh my god, when Keisha ran across, she was in track, and he's like, should we be worried? Like, should we be? That made me laugh so hard. Keisha's hilarious.
That was such a great little interaction.
I know, and then she was trying to shoot her shot.
Shoot my shot.
Oh my gosh! But he actually is the one that gives the advice about like. Get in the sea.
Get in the sea.
What do you think that means overall? Like, just jump into it, just like immerse yourself, submerge yourself in the problem, and get it out. What do you think the significance of get in the sea is?
Well, first we all thought it was a metaphor. So in that case, we thought, oh yeah, you must go to like a quiet place where you can like kind of meditate.
Yeah.
And then it was no, actually the sea.
And then they're all in the sea, which is so funny.
Yeah. So then I don't know. I mean, I guess if you're in the sea and you're like just feeling the cold water, you kind of have to focus on what the problem that you have to solve or something. But that was hilarious.
Like it's a more focused
way. It made Derek D2 down to earth too, because we thought, oh, he's just got this like metaphysical sea. No, it's the sea. He's just a real dude.
Yeah. I really like the addition of D2.
I know.
But that is where Charles is. Well, it was it was the patient, Dan,
Yeah.
who said, are we even asking Charles how he feels about this, Brian? And that's when he was like, no, I don't want it either. I mean, I do, but not right now. So
I love that moment so much because it's so true. Like, yeah, but then why wasn't he saying on his own, right? Because he had insecurities too, but he chose like, oh, he has to be the strong one, like the determined one, like the one with no doubts, because somebody has to be in the relationship. But yeah, people just got to talk about their feelings.
Just communicate, everybody. I know, easier said than done, but look, that like literally cleared it up for them. Yeah. So maybe Brian will take into consideration more. Maybe he'll prompt him more to be like, hey, how are you feeling about it?
What's on your mind?
Yes,
what
exactly.
are you thinking?
And then maybe now that Charles got the satisfaction of being like, oh my God, I was heard, then maybe he'll initiate it.
You know what's so funny though? My husband, your brother, he used to always like ask me, what are you thinking about? And I would be like, what the heck, man? That's my thoughts. Leave me alone.
I mean, if it's like you're about to make a big decision and then he's like, what are you thinking about the decision? But just a random moment of quiet,
but now I'm thinking like, oh, maybe it was a nice thing and I shouldn't have been annoyed. He really wanted to know what I was thinking.
Oh, that's sweet.
I would just be like, come on, leave me alone. I was probably thinking something inappropriate.
Probably, knowing this one.
But it is a nice thing to ask somebody, like, tell me your thoughts.
Let's just consider like everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Which puts me in my next topic of discussion, which is Summer and Alice. Because Summer is on a little rampage and she's making TikTok videos about Alice being a big fat cheater, as high school kids would. I feel like that's very accurate. I don't know high school kids right now, but I feel like that's something like I would do if we had TikTok back then.
Oh God, thank God we didn't.
I mean, I don't know if I was actually that catty, but I know people would.
People would.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, totally.
So things take a violent turn at school and they both get suspended. Jimmy has to come to the principal's office with Dan, the patient who's more intimidated by Alice than anybody else that he had to
Which I get. She's
come in contact with.
She has a mean face.
High school kids are crazy.
Yeah.
No, they're just very like blunt and like teenagers
are scary.
Yeah. All right, so Alice feels bad. It's not like she doesn't understand like why is she being this way. She knows exactly what she did, but it's Jimmy to the rescue when he is trying to explain to her like, you know, your mother dying, like, that's obviously horrible, but, like, stop making a comparison. Like, this is worse than what anybody else is going through. And he's like, Summer's going through stuff, too, which we find out she's not really talking to her dad, I believe. I mean, she's got her own issues, too. Yeah. So, exactly, like, we need to...
And Alice knew about them, but never gave her the space to, like, feel anything because, like, dead mom trumps everything.
Right. That's what she felt. Like, well, at least your mom didn't die. You know, like that. Yeah. Exactly. Again, that's a sign of maturity, though, too. Yeah. Like, you realize that. Like, I'm sure, like, we've done that before.
Oh my gosh.
Well, one up with this. Yeah.
Totally.
At least you're not this.
I love how Jimmy calls her out on it, and then she actually, like, admits it.
She's like, good job, Dad. That was a good one. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's feeling real good about himself until the end. All right, so Alice and Brian are now meeting up with Lewis at dinner, and I am surprised that dinner would even happen before talking to Jimmy.
Yes, but they've been hanging, it seems, or at least meeting up.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this is
that
not
wasn't the
first,
initial one.
I don't think so. Okay. After the first time meeting we saw
at his
last
house.
Week. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the right thing would have been to, after that initial meeting at his house, would have been to tell him about it. But I understand the hesitancy and the urgency. This is like a very tense, heavy situation to be in. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so while Jimmy is dropping off his patient back at that restaurant that they started the day at.
Which I kind of was like, oh God, that's the same restaurant.
I didn't realize it till like he was literally like
standing right there.
Yeah, then I was like, wait a minute. So then he sees them at the dinner table, and then I don't think he knows what to do with himself. He just kind of walks away. So
I know they needed to give him his moment, like Alice had a moment to like, I don't know, like for him to just see them laughing and talking, like that's too much.
Do you think it's betrayal is the overlying emotion there
that he feels?
Like betrayed.
Yeah, I mean, it has
a lot of
yeah,
things, but like, how could you guys do this? And behind my back is probably or also like, why would you want to talk to him? But I mean, you know, Jimmy's gonna end up hanging out with him eventually. Like, it's just gonna. He's likable.
It's gotta take probably a couple encounters.
Yeah.
But because that's just kind of how it goes on this show.
That's exactly right.
So like they're mad at each other for a while, but they talk it out, and
But definitely.
People come around because that's what the show's about.
As of now, though,
Alice made up too, which I was really happy about.
Yeah, they made up. They did eventually make up exactly. So, but Right now, Alice and Brian are in the doghouse right now with Jimmy. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, what a great episode though. Like from super funny bits, like the whole Jimmy's number 4 hotness. Oh my God, so funny.
They were all like, no, we can recall.
Yeah.
Hotter
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. And then to
Keisha.
like the
She's hilarious.
yeah. And then to like Harrison Ford singing that song too.
Oh,
Which I
yeah.
can't even sing because it's inappropriate.
I know. Do you have it in your head a little bit though?
Sometimes. But when they're all like, it's so catchy.
Yeah.
Summer's really talented.
Maybe this is going to be your big break.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, and
really
then it gets super deep too, and very like, I don't know, like really inspiring. Like I think about it all the time. Like, oh, like we need to be more like these people.
The writing is excellent. The delivery of the lines is excellent. The comedy.
It's like going to therapy, watching the show.
Yeah.
Because you learn these like better ways to like communicate, like talk about your feelings, work
Yeah.
out conflict. So yeah, I learned a lot.
We're growing up.
Yeah.
This show is helping us grow up. Yes. All right, that'll do it. Okay, everybody, let us know what you thought of this episode of Shrinking. Please comment below, and we will see you next week. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
Help me carry this weight.